learners, welcome to the video. In today's video, we will be discussing how was Europe divided into different areas and kingdoms before the revolution. In the last video, we had discussed how Napoleon's army affected the freedom of other European cities and countries and what new reforms he had introduced. Let us take a look at the topics that we will be discussing today. What kind of rule was in Europe before the revolution? How were the people of Europe segregated? What united diverse groups of people? If you look at the map of Europe right now, you'll see France, Germany, Switzerland and other countries. But there was a time when Europe had no boundary lines and there was no countries. In the mid-18th century, the map of Europe had no nation states. So if there were no countries, how exactly was it that people were divided into different areas? Let us understand this in detail. You must have heard the names Germany, Italy and Switzerland. These countries were not always there. Instead, they were smaller kingdoms whose rulers had their autonomous territories. Now the Central and Eastern Europe was governed by monarchies that had absolute power, and within these territories lived people who spoke different languages and followed different traditions. These people did not see themselves as sharing a common identity or culture with others. We will be understanding this with better an example of one such empire in Europe. The Habsburg Empire that ruled over Austria and Hungary had many different regions under their control where people belonging to different ethnic groups lived. The regions falling under this empire included the Alpine regions, which constituted Tyrol, Austria, and the Sudetenland. In addition to this, they also had power over Bohemia. A major part of the population in these cities spoke German. It also included the Italian-speaking provinces of Lombardy and Venetia. In Hungary, half of the population spoke Magyar, while the other half spoke a variety of dialects. Another city which as under its empire was Galicia, where the aristocracy spoke Polish. Besides these three dominant groups, there were still many people who were belonging to different ethnicities and dialects, which mostly constituted of peasants, and they were distributed throughout the empire. Bohemians and Slovaks to the north, Slovenes in Carniola, and Croats to the south. The Romans to the east in Transylvania. It is not just different languages, but they had different cultures, and these differences did not really let them have political unity. The only way these groups were related to each other was because of the common allegiance to the power. This was all about how Europe was segregated before the development of the nation states. Let us take a recap of what all we have discussed today. In the mid-18th century, the map of Europe had no nation states. Central and Eastern Europe were governed by monarchies that had absolute power, and within these territories lived people who belonged to different ethnicities. The Habsburg Empire that ruled over Austria and Hungary had many different regions under their control. It had three dominant groups that spoke German, Italian and Magyar. Other than this, there were a variety of groups who spoke different dialects. The only way these groups were related to each other was because of the common allegiance to the emperor. Students, this was all in the video. In the next video, we will study the role of aristocracy and the new middle class in European nationalism. Till then, I'll see you next time. You keep studying and yes, keep smiling.